hearts beat to the city streets.
Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a really interesting video. I had a prophetic dream on April 8th, 2024, the night of the eclipse. This will be a two-part series. In the first part, I'm going to explain the dream. The second part, I journaled with the Lord and got an interpretation of that dream. So please look for part 2 next week. I'm going to go right into the dream. So I'm reading from my journal right now. So in this dream, I was cold, lost, and it was very dark. I was on a city street. The city was decimated. It looked very war-torn. There was actually no buildings that were standing. They were just blown up. I was walking down this desolate street. I heard voices around the corner. I follow where I hear the voices, and I see this makeshift restaurant. It looked like people had pulled restaurant equipment and brought it out into the middle of the street and created this makeshift restaurant. I smelled the food, I heard voices, and I was so hungry and cold. I was just happy to see humanity. I walk over to this area and I plop down at this makeshift bar. When the guy asks what I want, I ordered a hearty breakfast. I just told him what I wanted because I was so hungry. I knew I didn't have money. I figured I would just worry about that later. I just needed to get some food in me. As I'm sitting there, I'm noticing everybody at the restaurant is staring at me, leaning closer to me as if I'm the most mystical thing they'd ever seen. The people in this restaurant all had a look to them, dark and soulless and skinny. I don't know how to describe it other than they look like Tim Burton characters. They were studying me and then calling other people in the restaurant to come and get a closer look at me and come right up to me. They were saying things like, look at the light that's emanating from her. Look at the light that's coming from her. From my perspective, I'm looking down at myself. I do not see any light emanating from me. I don't know what they're talking about. From what they're saying, I'm glowing. There's this shine from me. They're all mesmerized. So obviously, I'm missing something. I saw flashes of envy and intrigue in their faces. They were kind of looking at me suspicious, but they were so captivated at the same time. And as they were closing in on me, I was backing out of the restaurant. Nobody noticed I didn't pay for my meal. I walked away from that unharmed, strengthened by the food, warmed up and confused, pondering what is happening. So the scene in my dream kind of switches over. I am with my friend T. If any of you have heard my testimony, I'm at my old stripper friend's house. I'm getting ready as if I'm getting ready to go into the strip club. I notice her boyfriend is there and he's looking at me with eyes of suspicion and great dislike, like he does not like me, which is so weird because we were always really good friends. He was actually a very warm and caring and kind person. We had this trust between us, but all of that was not there. He looked like my friend, but he wasn't acting like him at all. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. Then I see my goddaughter. So I'm excited to see my goddaughter. She's excited to see me. She's actually older than I remember her. She was about 12 years old in the dream. She's wearing a gown. She wets her pants because she's so excited, which is very out of character for her. She's not 2 years old. She's 12. It's very inappropriate. And then she scurries down the basement steps like a dog. So I chase after her to console her and make her feel better. I end up in the basement. The crazy part about this basement, it was like an atrium. When you go under, it's usually darker. I go under in the ground. It opens up to this room. There are ceilings that are made of glass. You can see out into the sky. It almost looked like an atrium for birds. It was very, very tall and light. There were ropes hanging from one end to the other end, almost like the ropes you would see on a ski lift, where you can swing from one side of the wall to the other side. I see Genevieve crawling up a wall to get onto the rope and then just swinging to the other side. As she's swinging to the other side, I'm watching. There's other people doing this. They're all strippers, climbing up the walls and then swinging on these ropes and then violently thrashing their bodies, their faces against this wall, destroying themselves, literally bleeding. It was horrible. I'm in shock. I can't stop her because she's up so high. It was strange. They all were in a trance. They all had this look on their face like they didn't want to do what they were doing, but they couldn't help it. They were tortured. They couldn't stop themselves. And then the scene switched to a strip club. I was finishing getting ready at the club. The manager was instructing me very specific instructions that I had to do my hair and makeup like a doll. The customers preferred that the women did not look human. They were requesting for us to look as robotic and fake and doll-like as possible. It wasn't an option of how I want to style myself. It was an instruction that I had to look as unnatural as possible. The house fee was discussed, and usually when you work in a club, they collect the house fee around halfway through the night, so you have a chance to make the money. But this club required you to pay up front, and it was weird. It was $7. I thought that was strange. Oh shoot, I don't have any money. The dancer next to me says, oh, I'll cover you. She kind of says it in a way like she can't wait to do me this favor. Then she says, but you better cover me when I need you. And the way she says it's almost like a threat. She's doing something nice, but she's saying it in a way that's very threatening. And I don't want to commit to this because there's more to what she's asking for than what she's saying. I'm scared to say yes, but I don't have any money, so I don't really have an option. I kind of have to say yes. I notice her deep anticipation for me to say yes. The dream itself was physically dark. It was spiritually dark. It just felt dark all the way around. I noticed that everyone in this dream acted like a rabid beast. Everyone was only focusing on themselves, except for when I was in the restaurant. They looked at me as if what I carry drew them to me, but they were also kind of searching for how they can pull what I had and take it for themselves. The only kindness that was given seemed to be for future manipulation. No one was being kind or generous for goodness sake. They were doing it for a reason. That is the dream. And I asked the Lord about why was I in the strip club? What does that symbolize for me? You know, dreams are very specific to you. The house could symbolize something for me personally, but for you, it could mean something different. When I do my dream interpretation, it will always be through the lens of my experience, my life. What is God telling me through my lens? So I asked him, what does the strip club symbolize? He said to me, the world. Because when I was dancing, I had worldly thinking. I was not spiritually open or concerned about what God was concerned about. My mind was completely on the flesh. So when I go back to the strip club, it's like going back to that world mindset. Well, I think that's really important to talk about because that's what it symbolized in my dream. I will go into the interpretation of the dream next week, so stay tuned for that. It's very interesting and it's very sobering. I do believe that we're living in the end times, especially when you look at the news, especially when you see the signs. It's in Revelations. If any of you are not Bible people, I highly recommend reading the book of Revelations. You will begin to see the news in a whole new light. You will begin to understand what we're dealing with is something the Lord has warned us about. We should be paying attention to our visions and dreams because in the Bible it said in the end days, he will give young men visions and his old men dreams, and he will speak to his handmaidens in their sleep. As a person who talks to the Lord all the time, it is not a shock or surprise when God gives me a dream. I want to be faithful to share the dream when he tells me to share it. I've had a couple more I've been sitting on. I might be filming later on. This is the one I felt God definitely said, I want you to share. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you guys come back next week and hear God's interpretation of that dream. Stay tuned and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun, as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night.